Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. This is John. I'm hosting today for the Ophir podcast. I'm really glad to have you guys here. And we have a wonderful guest this evening, somebody who is revolutionizing the healthcare industry. And he, alongside our very own Doc Vince, actually. So, let me tell you a little bit about the platform that they founded. So it's called Hippocrates 2. It's the patient-centric PHI Vault, a next-generation platform built to return health information to its rightful owner, the patient. Powered by advanced AI and secured through the blockchain, H2 enables lifelong, portable, and truly private control of personal medical data. Founded by AOF Young, our guest this evening, and Doc Vince Vicente, H2 brings together engineering innovation and medical leadership to redefine how healthcare data is stored, shared, and protected. This is where technology meets transparency and trust. This is H2, your health, your data, your power. So, without further ado, let me call into the stream Mr. Ao Young.
Yeah, good evening, John. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for taking time. Oh, sorry, it's morning there, isn't it?
It is morning, but
Yeah. What time is it?
it's 7 in the morning, a little bit after 7 o'clock in the morning. But I'm
Oh,
a
thanks for getting up for.
morning bird, so that
Oh,
works.
wonderful, wonderful. So, where are you streaming in from?
Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, okay, nice, nice. So the first question that comes to mind, I didn't even know it was the platform was called. I just heard that it was H2. It's just now, in the green room that I found out it was called Hippocrates. Why did you choose the name Hippocrates?
Well, the H2 is the acronym for Hippocrates too, and Hippocrates is the father of medicine. So, in trying to go back to the basis, so we named it
The
aptly.
Hippocratic Oath, right?
Right.
Right. Okay. Okay. Got it. And how long have you known Doc Vince for?
We've been working now on this project for about 14 months. And he's right across the border in Texas. So I'm in Oklahoma, he's in Texas. He's
Oh,
like,
I didn't know that. Are they near? They're nearby.
right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Um, so how did this come about? Were you? I mean, this is your brainchild, and I'm assuming, right? And then you brought Doc Vince on board, or did you guys conceptualize it together?
Well, it's been a long journey. I grew up, that's why I said I'm international. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria,
Oh,
um,
okay.
playing basketball locally and internationally for Nigeria. But I was blessed with a basketball scholarship almost 25 years ago to the US at a school in South Carolina. But with athletes, there's always a chance there might be an incident. But unfortunately for me, my third year playing basketball for the school, I got injured. So I had to have back surgery. And so they went in L4, they went in and took out the broken piece, the herniated disc, right? So when I was leaving school, after graduation, my doctor gave me two binders of medical records. And he said, hey, you're going to need this. So for the last 15 years, I've been managing and tracking my medical records. And I have like 3 boxes of medical records. I have, electronic copies. I just started and I've lived in, 3 different countries and 5 different states in the US. So I just thought there's a better way to manage this. And that's how this started.
Interesting. So yeah, that gets right to the root of the problem that you're solving with
Yes.
H2, right? Because that was going to be my next question. But
Right.
before I jump into that, I had a lot of friends from Nigeria when I was living in the UK. So let me try something out here. What can do you or
Nothing,
edge it?
nothing to me. I did okay. I did fine. It's funny that you said that because I've traveled a lot, so I had a lot of things, and one of my favorite food is pancit. Um,
Oh, okay, nice. Cool. So that was how the idea for H2 came about, like your
yes,
own problems as far as keeping track of your medical records. And I know, well, that seems like the immediate problem, right? Like, I think about the platform that you've developed, and well, I don't know that much about it, but the problem that you're solving, and it does seem to be a very prevalent problem, right? Especially like I was just, you know, like the number of times that you have to uh, uh, when you go to a hospital and figure out how you're going to get all your records from the previous hospital that you went to, the went to. Like my mom, like had a procedure about 6 months ago. She had her bladder removed, and it was a huge debacle that she wanted to go with one hospital, but they didn't have her medical records there. And so it was, she had to go elsewhere where all of her records were, because it would have been too much trouble to, get all of the records from this other hospital. So yeah, what other? Maybe you can tell me a bit more about the world problems that H2 solves, like how exactly it operates.
And that's the example of your mom is exactly the kind of problems that we're trying to solve. That really
Mm,
gets to the root of the problem, because in that situation, if she could not go back to the hospital that had all the medical records, now we have a problem.
yeah.
So the solution really is to be always have access to those medical records wherever you are, even if you're not at home, if you're not in your home country. So if you need care, now it's easier, especially in case of emergency, to get the care you need. So that's really the root of the that's the root problem that we're trying to solve.
Hmm. Is the platform actually functional already?
Well, we actually, since we're a very early stage startup, we have the demo app, and again, we have a lot of emerging technologies that we're deploying. So, based on our milestone, by the end of February, we should have the first release.
Wow,
Of the
exciting.
app. So, but we're going in stages. So the first stage really is the education part, so that the community, we're creating this community and trying to educate the community why and the importance of having your medical records, so they can go ahead just like me. My 3 boxes are waiting. So once the app is ready, we'll go ahead
Mm,
and migrate those records. So everyone should do the same thing. So this phase is just the education phase and trying to figure out what, depending on the community, because there are various needs and various levels of understanding when it comes to storing and managing the PHI. So we're going through the phase right now, the days.
I see. So jumping off from what you just said, education, maybe you can talk a little bit AI and the blockchain um, uh, play, what role they play in the platform and in providing the solution that you provide, because AI, and I mean these are very new technologies. Well, not new for you, but for a lot of people,
Right.
there's still, it's still a bit nebulous. Most people, when they think of AI, they just think of Chat GPT. When they think of blockchain, they just think of Bitcoin, right? And cryptocurrency. But there are many other applications, right, or uses for or use cases for blockchain. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
Right. So when we're looking at the two emerging technology, AI, artificial intelligence, and the blockchain. So the blockchain specifically, we're using as the security feature.
Okay.
Just like I mean, the crypto is a use case of blockchain. It's the most secure currency that we have when you think about all the different cryptos. Same, the PHI, the personal records, is the most sensitive data. That's our
Mhm.
personal records. That's why the prevailing practice is we keep it at the hospital. But if I'm going to store my record as an individual, I need a very safe place. So
Mhm.
the blockchain technology provides the security key to really secure that data, so we don't have bad actors having access to it.
Mhm.
So AI really, and again, I'll go back to my case. I have 3 boxes, a lot of medical records. So AI, it just takes away the administrative burden of having a medical professional or a doctor have to sift through, you know, 5,000
Oh,
pages of records. So AI can go in and scan those records and summarize it.
I
And then,
see.
so if the medical practitioner comes in and read that report, they can zone in, just reducing the administrative burden so that the professionals can spend more time providing care.
I see. Okay. As far as security is concerned, so I was doing a little bit of research, and is it accurate to say that data breaches are a real concern in your field? And what exactly does that mean if somebody gets a hold of your medical records? Like, what could they do? What risks do those pose to the individual?
Well, there are a lot of risk. Any private record. I mean, depending on what country you're based in. For
Mhm.
example, in the U.S., someone could take over your financial assets,
Mhm.
like your credits, your credit cards, and things, and your bank accounts. So that's the risk. If they breach your personal data, they could take it. They could take on your identity. So that's why we need the secure platform to ensure that does not happen. And as of date, blockchain provides the most security.
I see. Okay. Um, how about with emerging technologies, there's always barriers, there's always resistance to change, and as you mentioned, education is really important. So,
Yeah.
what are the obstacles and the barriers that you've been facing so far as you've been working uh, to get the platform off the ground?
Well, I think we go back to the education piece. We're actually in multiple markets as we speak.
Oh, wow.
Since we're early stage company, one of the things we've done, startup, we've done customer discovery, trying to figure out what the customers in different jurisdictions or different countries want. So we're actually in Nigeria, Kenya, here in the Philippines, in India, and also obviously here in the US. But there are different levels of understanding awareness when it comes to medical records and
Mm-hmm.
the prevailing laws. Like in the US, the law that guides medical records is HIPAA. In the EU, it's GDPR, and different countries outside the US follow the EU law, but they do have their private laws. So what we've done is research and track the laws of every countries that we're operating right now, and then kind of see how those citizens, what their understanding is from understanding of when it comes to their medical records. And we found out that a lot of people don't really know what the law says, or they don't know they have the right to request those medical records in a timely manner and keep them. So that's the process we're going through, and then we're engaging the community. So that's the biggest challenge: the getting that education across and understand, let the people understand why it's important to have this, especially if they need care down the road or in case of emergency.
Hmm. Yeah, well, that just went over my head as far as the law is concerned, its implications, and how like it never occurred to me at all to ask that question, or that I have any rights as far as my medical records are concerned. So you're saying that we have a right to have access to all of our medical records, and that uh, so the issues uh, that we just spoke about, that technically in many countries, that those shouldn't be issues because of the prevailing laws in those countries. Did I get that right?
Correct. And I think crypto provides a great analogy. Um, your keys, you know,
Your keys
if
and
you, if you,
coins.
yeah, your keys and your wallet. If you don't, it's your right. It's your medical. But based on the business model, the hospital pay a lot of money to store this record. So also based on the law, they own those records, but you have a right to keep a copy of those records.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm just typing down some other questions that come to mind
Yeah.
as we chat. Like, so uh, I myself am, we have a family business, and it's actually been around for 60 years, so very quite different. But I'm in the marketing space, and so that's what I did to help the company. So as far as marketing is concerned, what strategies are you employing? What approach are you taking So is it really grassroots initially, building communities and educating them, or are you actually going to pursue some more traditional angles? So yeah, what approach are you going to take?
So from a marketing standpoint, John, we are going to use deploy it's a sort of use a traditional and obviously the modern approach, but we have not actually formally launched the company. So
Mhm.
what we so
Okay.
we're still in the research mode, just to
Okay.
really educate the customers and our population, and also figure out exactly what they need before we're done building the application. Because you don't want to do it the other way. If you're
Mhm.
done building, but then they might have specific areas of concern, so you want to go
That's
back and fix it. So that's the phase we're in. So our goal is to actually launch latest by February of 2026. So and then we'll go through a marketing process. But we do have a marketing team and a marketing plan.
got it. So who exactly, what is the business model? So would people subscribe to your platform and like sort of pay a monthly fee, or is it uh, would these be deals with medical establishments and hospitals and that sort of approach?
Yes, all of the above, John. But well, that's why we're studying every market. They are, and we're going into rural areas because they would. It's going to be subscription based. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It's going to be subscription based, but we do have different tiers. So we're going to have the freemium approach. So we're going into rural areas. They may not be able to afford to pay,
Mm.
and we actually will have incentive for them, and you're in the blockchain and crypto space, so we will also deploy tokenization, so they would actually get paid to put their records on the vault. But that's
Okay.
also down the road from a milestone standpoint. So we're going to be in every community, but we have different levels of customers that are going to be involved in the process.
Okay. I see. Um, who are your main competitors? Are there others who have sort of paved the way before you, others who are already operating in this space, and how are they faring?
Well, we have a different business approach. The competitors or other use cases are more institutional hospital centric, but
Okay.
but we are patient centric. We're asking the patient to keep their records. The prevailing practice is the hospitals keep the records. So there are 200 use cases working with hospitals, and we will work with hospitals, but on behalf of the patient. So we just have a different business model.
Interesting. So elaborate a little bit more on that. When you say that you're patient centric, as opposed to the hospitals having platforms that keep medical data, so you're saying that the patient has ownership and is ownership of their data, and basically just shares it whenever they need to share it with
And John, I will go back to an example that you started with. So if we were blessed or lucky enough to work with your mom, she would
Mhm.
have she would have the application. And the hospital that has her medical records, they have the medical records. So they're already using an application for the medical records or system. But if she had H2, then she would have given H2 to the second hospital, or the medical records to the second hospital. So she has sort of control over her
Mhm.
medical records. But she just has a copy of what the other hospital has, but she can take it wherever she wants. So that's exactly how that plays out, because the first
Okay.
hospital has a medical record system, but they're just not sharing it with the other hospital. But the patient has the right to get those records and save it all the time, and then give it to the second hospital or whoever they're getting the second opinion from. So that's actually
Mhm.
a very good example of how that will work.
Okay. So practically speaking, would it be a matter of patient um, downloading, or let's just say more uh, traditional? hospital that isn't really up with the times and doesn't have your medical records digitally on file. So would that mean that the patient would have to like scan their files and then upload them into the platform, that sort of thing?
Well, yes, and but that's one of the things that Dr. Vincent is working on, and that's why we're engaging with the churches in the Philippines, because we already have a church partner. And the other interesting thing, John, this is actually going to create a lot of jobs. So we'll have folks
Ooh.
that are partners in some of those churches or those facilities. People would come to them and they can help them set up their account technologically savvy. So I mean, I don't we don't expect grandparents and great grandparents to be able to, do that, but they can have their caregivers or their son or their grandchildren or folks at the church that are working for us or with us help with that process. And that's why we're having this conversation, because he's already working on that.
Wow, that's very exciting, and that would be a huge blessing to many of these churches that we work with at Ophir, most definitely.
Yes.
And another thing is, since Doc Vince, and I think you're also in academe, or we're in academe, is that right?
No,
Did I?
I'm a chartered accountant.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, I was because I did take a look through your LinkedIn, and I don't know why that came to mind, but I guess maybe it's just because of um, your educational background. I think you've
Well, I teach. And you mentioned this when we spoke earlier. I teach robotics and a lot
yes,
of
there we
things.
go.
Yes, so I do teach. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that will come in pretty handy given, and I think you have, the right person as far as Doc Vince goes as well, to be able to push the education on the education front because, as you've already implied, it's, education is going to be really, really critical moving
Yes.
forward. And so, just like stuff that comes to my mind is doing a lot of it because for Ophir we really had to work on educating many of these churches, and so we
Yes.
developed um, like a learning management system. And I mean, I say learning management system makes it sound very grand, but it was basically we used an application called Glide, I think it was, and then we moved on to YouTube where and then our workflow was that we used an application or AI to um, develop like an anime character of Doc Vince, and then we would like type out scripts, and we used 11 Labs to copy his voice, and so we basically uploaded all of our educational or our curriculum, and then had an anime Doc Vince teach about cryptocurrency and about Ophir, and so yeah, it's definitely uh, it's definitely something that will make a world of difference if you're able to um, really push hard on the Asian front.
No.
So it's exciting, though. I'm very excited for you guys.
Same here. And I believe Doug Vince is using the same platform and the same template, because he's also responsible for
Ah,
the education
for
piece.
the education side. Oh,
Yes.
wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful, wonderful. So were you always an innovator? Were you? I mean, you mentioned that you even taught robotics. I think that was from uh, a couple of decades ago, even based
Well,
on.
I'm still teaching. We have a foundation, and so we have robotics teams, all the
Okay.
way from K to 12.
Oh.
And so we go to tournaments, and so we have kids in the program, and we go around. We've done that internationally, because we've even launched programs in Nigeria, but around the U.S.
Mm,
And in different cities here in Oklahoma. So, yeah, I do have a background in engineering and computer science, even though I ended up as a chartered accountant.
okay.
But I'm always innovating and looking out for ways to better serve the community.
Hmm. So how does one apply when you say robotics? You literally build robots.
Well, the platform we use really it's we mostly is Lego robots. So we're
Okay.
teaching children from kindergarten to primary school to secondary school. And so we're integrating computer science and engineering, the idea of, and the process, they're learning programming, this sequential thought of, running through a process and then
Mm,
actually build into precision. Well, that's the engineering. Because if it's not built to precision, it's not going to work. So they're
mhm.
learning that process, and through failure, they learn and they iterate and then compete in different tournaments and it's a lot of learning.
How do you like tournaments for robotics? Because the what comes to mind for me is these like battle of the robots and like these like robots coming at each other and like fighting. So what exactly when you say a robotics competition, like what does that look like?
So usually our tournament will have a national project, um, and you can imagine something like NASA or the robots on Mars. So you have missions, and
Oh,
just like a game, in this, so you can have 16 missions. So for those missions, you get points, and depending if the degree of difficulty, you get more points. But you only
okay.
have like 2 minutes 30 seconds to complete the entire mission. So you have to have strategy on how to get the most points, and you have to build your robot. It has to be autonomous, meaning that you don't touch it. When you start, it's going to go into the field and solve problems, and then come back home. So it's a lot of learning, and I see the kids in our program. I mean, they're just advancing and learning because no one knows what the problems of tomorrow would be. So what just helping them learn how to solve problems, and whatever problems show up, they would know how to solve it.
Mm. And is it a natural progression for a lot of these kids to get into other types of technology, AI of things? Um,
Well, I would give you a good example. My son, he's part of the program. He's only 13, and he's been in robotics since he was 4. So
wow.
so he goes with me everywhere I go with with all the projects. Now he can program on Python with AI, and he can
Wow. At 13. That's
right.
insane.
Just by observation, and he's there watching what everyone is doing, and so he
Wow.
can, I'm amazed what he does because he's just, the ones that learn, they'll take it from there.
Yeah, that's a real head start, man.
Right.
Amazing. So, what are your thoughts? I mean, speaking of things more generally,
Hmm.
as far as AI is concerned, so do you think, like, what is the impact that AI is going to have on? I mean, do you think, uh, sort of like along the lines of Elon Musk, his view on it. In the past he was like, we're unleashing the demon kind of thing with AI, but now he's starting to say that he believes that we're going to achieve some sort of utopia where people will no longer have to work, essentially. But what are your thoughts as far as the far-reaching implications of AI on the world?
Well, I think, John, because of my level of experience, and I have over 20 plus years of experience in diverse industries,
Mhm.
to me, AI is a tool.
Mm.
And I think if we're very intentional, like what we're doing now, the narrative, and I think some of that comes from a little bit of not being intentional and lack of understanding. If
Mhm.
if we're very intentional, like this project, we're actually going to create jobs
Wow,
with this AI tool.
that's interesting. Yeah.
But AI is just a leverage that we're going to use, and we're going to use it for education. We're going to use it to get to speed. And we're looking at rural areas that don't have a lot of medical resources.
Hmm.
So what we're doing with the AI tool integrated with this is, okay, you have to practice preventive care, but AI is going to help you, give you alerts. So if you need to drive 5 hours or 6 hours, you're more informed than waiting until you become very sick physically. So AI in that case is actually a tool. Stay healthy. And we're trying to change the narrative because with this AI integrated tool. We're actually trying to create jobs, not take away jobs. Because what
Mm.
happened initially, and I think this started with COVID. So it's not just AI. There was
Mhm.
COVID. We forget there was COVID. A lot of the rural areas lost a lot of jobs because of COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
Because people were because people were
devastation.
working. Yeah, people were working remotely,
Yeah.
and other instances. But now, because we're going to need to go serve those people in the rural areas, and we're going to need people to work, AI staff working to help them migrate those records. So we're actually going back to those rural areas to create jobs. Just talking about rural areas globally, not just here in the US, even there in the Philippines and Nigeria, everywhere else. Because guess what? We everybody there needs healthcare, and
Yeah.
but mostly in those rural areas, we don't have those hospitals, but they all have cell phones or applications. They can
Yes,
use
especially
that,
in the Philippines. Yeah.
right? They can use that to track before they need to start driving 5, 6 hours to the hospital. And so they're on
Mhm.
top of their medical or their health or their health outcomes.
Mhm. Yeah,
So that's how I see AI.
that's fascinating because it's not something that you usually hear from the mainstream. A lot of it is fear mongering and talking about how everybody's going to lose jobs and AI is going to replace, the workforce. But that's quite fascinating that you're coming from, the opposite end of the spectrum, talking about
Yeah,
how it's actually going to create jobs, and people don't normally talk about that. So
yeah.
that's great. Uh, so you mentioned that you're currently operating in multiple uh, countries. When you say that so you mean you have a presence in these different countries and you're building communities in these different countries?
That's exactly what we're doing. We're building communities and we're educating the community. Also speaking, we're in 3 different states right now in Nigeria doing exactly that. We're running projects and then going through the customer education and customer discovery, and then
Mhm.
giving out the survey, just trying to see where they are, if they
Mhm.
do understand the process and the law when it comes to medical records and the need to keep medical records. And then once we get those feedback, we'll start interacting with them. But so we're going in and create this community. Basically, we're planting the seed for when the app is ready, so we can go ahead and start collecting those records on their behalf, so they have it in one place.
Okay. How big is the team that you have? Is it like a very a very tight ship that you run with just a few people, or are there quite a number of people who are working
What
on this?
we
Sorry,
have,
speaking as someone who's excuse my ignorance, as far as when it comes to developing these types of platforms.
well, we have 3 co-founders. Me, Vince, both of us are here in the US, and we have a co-founder in India. And then we have volunteers. We have, in Nigeria, we have about 30 plus volunteers. In
Oh
in
wow.
Ken, in Kenya, we have about, I think, 5. But the co-founder in India is building the India team, so we have maybe about 6 or 7. Um, but the actual at the corporate level, we have 3. But then, like in the US, we have multiple resources because I'm in the state of Oklahoma. We're being
Mhm.
supported by the state. So we have programs that are also helping, about 4 or 5 different programs, resources helping to build the company. But
Oh wow.
those are state funded programs.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes.
Excellent. And what are the countries again that you mentioned? India,
In,
Nigeria,
in, India,
Philippines.
right. India, Nigeria, Philippines, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, and the US.
Okay. Have you traveled to most of these countries, or has everything really been virtual?
Oh,
Uh,
it's been virtual for now.
okay.
It's been virtual for now.
Okay. What are I mean, culturally, and working with teams from these different countries, like what are the the differences that you see, and are there different sort of barriers to your getting things up off the ground in these different countries?
Well, I'll start with the commonalities first. What
Mhm.
One of the things we've seen is everyone is concerned when it comes to medical records.
Mm.
So the first thing is, and again by the law, the medical records from a certain country should never leave that country. So if we're
Oh, sorry, can
working
you repeat that? The medical records.
from a certain country,
Uh-huh.
should not leave that country.
Oh,
So if we're when we're operating in the Philippines, all the Philippines medical records were managed by the Philippines team. So it would never
what did I
leave.
mean? What? I'm sorry.
If we're managing medical records like in the Philippines, those medical records would never leave the Philippines.
By law,
Well,
that's the
yes,
case.
by law.
Oh my gosh. So how would that work? I mean, if so you could
Well,
travel
no.
and how and what?
You the person can take your medical records anywhere, but as a company,
Ah,
right? But what happens is, from a research standpoint, even if those records are going to be used for research, they de-identify those records, meaning that they strip away everything that has your name, your address. They de-identify those records.
oh, I
That's
see.
how it's used for research, and that's the privacy law.
I
So
see. Okay.
from a security standpoint, that's the most common thing that we're getting back. People are concerned if you have a U.S. company, how are we going to ensure that this data does not leave our country?
Mhm.
And the other part is there are just different levels of understanding when it comes to medical records. Some people pay attention to the medical records, some don't, and
Mhm.
that's what, from a cultural standpoint. And some people just wait uh, until it becomes a crisis before they care about medical records. So that's a kind of different from a cultural standpoint. That's what we've been finding.
Mhm.
Having this conversation with folks in different countries. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. And like especially if you're talking about people, in the grassroots and people who, it's like they have other problems that take precedence over keeping track of their health, like the poorer areas, poorer people. I don't know if it's politically correct nowadays to say that, but they obviously have uh, they're typically hand to mouth, and it's usually the like it's like you said, health becomes an issue only when tragedy strikes, and it becomes a real urgent matter, right?
Right.
Mm. So what do you see, like what over the next 3 years or so, um, if everything goes as planned, how do you envision H2 progressing over the next 3 years?
Okay. And I'll talk about the next 3 years, but one of the things I was going to also add
Yeah,
to
sure.
the conversation, we have a lot of what we call medical missions, and when we're dealing with the underprivileged community, rural community,
Mhm.
um, and that also actually informed some of our decisions in how we would operate. Because when we have doctors that travel, either they come for medical missions or for surgery or whatever it is, they also do not give those patients the medical records. So,
Oh.
so what we're doing is we want to partner with to ensure that once they're done, even if they have to come back to the U.S. or Europe or wherever they come from, to provide on those missions, that these patients also have a copy of those records, because these are mission workers, so it's free medical service, but the patient also need a record in case they need to follow up. They need follow-up care, so they need those records. So that's another angle for the underprivileged community, so we can start them in that habit of keeping those records and manage those records for follow-up. So where we see ourselves in the next 3 years, the first is to make sure we're operational with the application that was going to be launched in February of 2026, and then really get into the education of the community, and help, especially the freemium, the missions approach, that we can go into those rural areas and get the educational up and running. And I talked about tokenization in the near future, but part of that, I'll tell you, John, medical records, we need medical records for research.
Mm,
If there is an outbreak like COVID or Ebola, you need to know what's happening in those community, and that data is also very critical for research. So that's why we're encouraging everyone, even the folks in the rural areas, to start your medical records, and they will get incentivized to do that. So that's the tokenization part because it becomes an asset on their
it
behalf.
becomes a what? Sorry,
It becomes an asset,
an ask or
an
an
asset.
asset? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't catch that.
No,
Okay.
yeah, it becomes an
Yeah.
asset.
Mm,
So that's the process of tokenization. You take something, the medical records, you put it on the platform, and if you do choose to, you consent for that to be used for research. So you tokenize it; it becomes an
and
asset for
you
your
earn.
right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
in the next 2 years after the first year, really it's to really be streamline the application itself, get
Mm,
it fully deployed, and whatever challenges we have in different depending on the jurisdiction, want to address those jurisdiction by jurisdiction and make sure the
mm,
security features are in because again, like I talked about, making sure those assets don't leave those countries.
mm,
That's the critical piece in the application.
I see. And as you move forward and work to, build this application, would it mainly just be patients that have access to the application and accounts, or would doctors, do you have like different sort of types of accounts, like a type of account for patients, a type of account for doctors, a type of account for, I don't know if there's anything else apart from patients and doctors, but yeah, how would that work? Is it just patients who have accounts?
We'll have accounts for patients because they're the main customers, but then we'll
Mhm.
have accounts for doctors so they can have access to the patient's account. And
Okay.
also so if you see a doctor, they should be able to save going forward after the first migration of the data. They should be able to start automatically saving your medical records in your file or your vault. And then we'll have the third party like the churches, insurance companies, and
Oh.
research organizations were part of that. The churches are going to be a huge part of this because they're going to help with the educational piece. And obviously, we're looking to partner with churches just from a business standpoint, and that's part of our business model.
So across these different countries, you're looking at partnering with churches as well, or has it kicked off mainly with the Philippines, or you've already started to work with churches elsewhere?
Yes, we have started to work with churches also in Nigeria.
Mm.
We're working with youth organizations too. We actually have a program ongoing as we speak now, this week, in Nigeria with churches and youth programs. Yeah.
Okay. So you were saying the doctors would have access, the patients would have access, and so the idea is that when the patient goes to see the doctor, who is ideally already part of the platform, then he just updates the medical records directly. Is that sort of how it would work?
Correct.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
the hospital will have their record, a copy of that record, but they would also give a copy um, to the patient. It's just like going to school. You get your report card. The school has a copy of a report card, but you also have your report card that you go
Mm.
home with. So that's exactly how the system is going to work.
And that would necessitate that the hospitals are part of have access to the platform as well, or not necessarily?
Yes, yes, they will have access, and the technology that is the API.
Mm.
If they're only still in the traditional format of the paper format, then they will not have access. But if they have an electronic system, then and they have their API keys, then they will have access.
Do you find that a lot of hospitals in, like, let's say Nigeria or these other countries that you're working in, that uh, that there's quite a lot that are still very sort of behind with the times, and they're like paper based and not really digital yet?
And that's been our finding outside of the U.S. Most of the countries that we've seen, that's the case. And but a lot of the hospitals or the potential partners we're looking at, they're also looking because they can use H2 as their electronic medical records also. So they will look to deploy this application as their medical records. So we're also onboarding them as clients, but our main
Mhm.
focus is the patient. But we're looking
Mhm.
to also onboard hospitals as clients.
I see. And with the hospital on board, so would that mean basically that the hospital would get all of its doctors on board as well, like once the hospital buys in? Or, oh yeah, I guess that's how it would work, right? I mean, and it wouldn't be an immediate thing. I suppose the doctors would, I mean, the best that the hospital could do is sort of market it to its own, to the doctors that hold clinic in the hospital, and then it would be up to the specific doctors whether or not to sort of partake, right?
Yes, at the very minimum, it might just be their record management system. The so
Mhm.
instead of putting the files in just a storage, they scan the files and put it on the platform for each patient. So each patient has an account. So even if the doctors don't go in directly, they can start with the file management system and then gradually transition to each doctor can actually do that directly. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. So, oh, all right. The main man, the voice of Ophir, is in the house. You're muted, Doc.
I'm not the main man. Iyo is the main man here,
Yeah.
and you are the main man. Now, I've seen that you guys have been, you gentlemen have been talking a lot of stuff that is very important for our audience, and I would like to say hello to our audience who are listening. We have say 12,000 people live listening to us. Pastor Roy was here, and he got Wi-Fi problems.
Okay.
Um, Pastor Neil Espina, Pastor Edwin Rufino is here, Rodney Ciudad. We've got a lot of pastors here who are currently listening and doing live. And John,
Yeah, there's
I'm amazed
lots of
on.
comments actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They got lots of comments. So if you do have any questions, pastors who are listening, no, knowing what do you want about EMR, this is the right time, electronic medical records, because we have Ayo here who's going to explain everything to us. And John, you have been giving a lot of great questions to Ayo. But what heard, this is I would like to know more and learn more about uh, Mr. Ayo, is that you talk about creating jobs, and
Yes.
then we have partnerships in the Philippines. Maybe you could talk more on how it would create jobs. You did mention about education, right? But maybe you could expound more on that, and especially on the grassroots churches and with the Ophir community. So, how does that connect?
Well, Dr. Vince, thanks. That's a great question. We've discussed this earlier on when we started talking to the pastors in the Philippines, because one of the challenge is actually because we need internet connections. And my understanding is most of these churches have the infrastructure and the internet connection. So that's a great place to start because you're going to need that to be able to migrate those medical records. And also, the churches is a great sanctuary to educate the population about their health. So it's a natural partnership. And our job, based on the training, you actually train future staff there in the Philippines. So the first place we're going to start recruiting will be from these churches, and these folks are going to get paid to actually help people migrate those records to the H2 app, and that's the job that we're creating in those creators. So churches are going to be great partners once we start this in February.
And I think a week ago, John, we did submit and inform the members of Ophir to fill up those forms. There's a survey form by H2. So maybe AO, you could explain more about what is that survey form is, the discovery form, the questionnaire, so that our audience here would at least have a better insight of what they're gonna answer and what it is for.
Yeah, another great question, Dr. V. John and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. The gap in education, people being aware, especially in those rural areas, especially where they're not taking their health, it's not their main concern because their other hustle they're trying to attend to. So what we're trying to do is understand where they are when it comes to their health and medical records, or even if they understand what the law of the country says about their rights to their medical records. So that gives us enough information about that community and how to best serve them. So it's going to be great if they go ahead and answer those questions to the best of their ability and put their contacts in there so we can create that community. And they can ask great questions or whatever questions they have about medical records. But every single, based on the international law, we all have the rights to request medical records. It doesn't matter whatever country you are. The moment you see a provider or a doctor, you can always ask for that. And just from a process standpoint, to find those records maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, after you've seen the doctor, it's better you get the records or request the records immediately at the point of care. So you have it, you save, you're responsible to make sure it's accurate and complete whenever you need it. So that's the sort of the education process, and we're trying to see where people are in terms of their knowledge when it comes to their health and their medical records.
John, you do have any other questions?
Let me see. Yeah, I already asked AO about what he thinks or what how he envisions things panning out over the next few years. But maybe to just a comment on the point that you made, AO, about how there's a almost like a natural uh, partnership here when you're talking about churches and the health of people. I think that makes a lot of sense because pastors have a duty to shepherd the flock and to work towards their well-being, and that means holistically in every way. And so I think you're absolutely right to point out that it's a it's a great synergy.
Right.
Yeah, during the pandemic, you could see how the pastors and the churches really work in taking care of the community holistically,
Yeah,
not
that's right.
just the spiritual aspect, but also, the health aspect. And
Mhm.
having this, I mean, yes, the this is a great approach. Talking to the church itself, especially with the pastors. Ayo, you're about to say something. Sorry.
No, no, I absolutely agree. I think the church is the it's a natural partner because we're constantly educating people about the different phases of life and there to support their need. But with the technology opportunities that we have, AI and blockchain giving us the tool to do more with less. I think it just helps the process further because with especially with the integration of AI, Dr. Vince, you know this, it's going to create uh, uh, health alerts that people can see by just looking at the data. And you're a practicing physician, so you're probably the best one to actually answer that question or provide that insight because it tells you based on all your blood work or all your based on your results, it can extrapolate and and then you go to a Dr. Vince and say, "This is my report. What do I do?" So you're already
Mm.
practicing preventive care by using these tools, and that
Yeah.
really brings down the cost of waiting until it becomes a crisis before dealing with it. So I just think it's a natural partnership to work with churches to do this and provide this service.
It just makes things so much more accessible. The reason that a lot of people do not really care to keep all of their medical records and sort of keep abreast with where they're at as far as their health is concerned is precisely because they can't interpret what's there anyways. I mean, they see it and it's just it's just a jumble of figures that they don't really understand. Whereas if they have something that can immediately already give them some insight about what their status is, I think they would be more engaged.
And John, that goes back to the earlier conversation we had about AI. People predicting is the tool of doom. That's a great tool for even the list. If you're not an expert in the space, it gives you, it breaks down the insight, so you're well informed to even have a conversation like with a Dr. Vince and say,
Mhm.
hey, this is what my report is saying. What does this mean? But this my level of understanding. And you can even ask the tool more questions. You can ask the AI, okay, wait, I don't understand this. Please break it down. And it would break it down to your level of understanding. So it becomes a tool, not a tool of doom, but a tool to help educate folks a little bit further. That they don't have to wait for that expert. They can get the information they need to have a great conversation with an expert at their level of understanding.
Mm. We have a comment here from Pastor Rodney Shadad. Good evening, brother Dr. V, brother John, and brother AOFM. God bless us all. Amen. Pastor Shadad, we have a question to one of the pastors, and we might be wrapping up because we're already on our um, from Pastor Edwin Rufino. Brother Ao, what are the specific jobs you require? Hmm. Maybe he's asking
But
like before if we if H2 needs people to work work with the project, what would be the background job resume or something like that?
right, I think I kind of understand what the question is asking.
Mm,
The first thing would be we'll need a church that has obviously the infrastructure. You have internet, so we can constantly communicate. This is technology that's going to be based on the online, so you do need that infrastructure, and we need folks that are interested in what we're building in the health space. Definitely, starting with the survey would be a good one. Taking the survey and sharing the survey, and this is something that affects everybody. As I'm speaking, John, I told you I have 3 boxes, so I'm waiting on it too to put my
Yeah.
medical records when I travel. So everyone, this impacts every single person, and especially, I mean, we want to make sure if we have children somewhere else or we travel with the kids, we want to make sure we have their medical records. So this is applicable to every single person that cares about their health or optimizing their health. So the in terms of job description, it's, I mean, we're going to train Dr. V. It's getting the training manual and training materials ready. So we anyone that's interested can be trained to be part of this because it impacts every single community. So like they say in the scripture, come as you are, and then we'll take it from there.
awesome. Um, John, final questions before for Mr. Ao.
Are, you mentioned the scriptures. Are you a Christian by any chance?
Well, I am. I grew up.
Oh,
I grew up Presbyterian, so
oh,
I've worked in the church many. So yeah,
hey.
I just don't have the pastor title, but I can preach from Genesis to Revelation. So
Whoa, that's amazing, man. And so this is really a match made in heaven, then a partnership that really works out very, very well because that's really what we're all about, essentially
yes,
glorifying the Lord through everything that we're doing, and that's how Ophir came about. And so, yeah, it's really always wonderful to get to meet somebody who's on fire for the Lord, to honor Him and to give Him glory.
yes,
So. No, I don't have any more questions. I've gone through most of my list. So yeah, I'm just really really glad to get to meet you and looking forward to to working with you as well and to seeing your platform and your vision take form. It's a very noble thing I think that you're endeavoring to accomplish, and a lot of people will be blessed by it. So thanks for doing what you're doing.
yeah. And thanks, John, for having me. I had a great time, and I look forward to revisiting again.
Yeah. Our Lord God aligns people, and I guess having this conversations, you could see God's people, gathering, and God is aligning each and every one of us to spread the word and helping His flock. And for that, we would like to thank our very good guest, Mr. Ao Efyong, and I'll give you your final thoughts, final message to the people who are currently watching EMR, or maybe you could give a shout out to your family and where they could, you know, uh, where can they find you, and especially the H2 Hippocrates. Go ahead, please.
Well, my final thing will be, I'll just Philippine family should really, Dr. V, reach out to you, and you're leading the project in the Philippines, and definitely this is match made in heaven, because I mean I'm a strong believer, and I know it's always great timing. So that's why we've emphasized the church, because I've been in the church all my life. So I am really looking forward to working, and we just want to use all the blessings that God has given us to really deploy that in a very smart way with wisdom and help, empower the people. So I really look forward to moving this project forward. And then
Amen.
also, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And with that, to those who are watching right now, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, fill up those forms that were sent. If not, we will resend it to you because that's so important for us to move forward with this project. And I would like to ask you, John, to close it up with a short prayer before we
Oh yeah,
go.
sure, sure. Okay, Father God, we want to praise you and we thank you for your grace that you've poured out into our lives. Uh, Thank you for sending your Son to die on the cross for our sins, that we might have fellowship with you forever. Thank you so much for Brother Ao, who uh, is doing what he's doing, motivated by uh, wanting to glorify you and be a blessing to so many people. We just ask uh, for more of your blessing and more of your spirit and uh, more of your wisdom to come upon him and his entire team. We ask that you would protect them, that you would grant them everything that they need to turn this vision into reality, that many people might be blessed and that many people might uh, be directed towards uh, you and glorifying you. uh, we thank you so much for bringing us together. We thank you that we can rest assured that you work all things for the good of those who love you, those who are called according to your purpose. And so that's what we see happening right now, and what we will see through H2 and the vision that AO has for it. So we praise you, we thank you, and we bless your name. And we pray for all of this in the name of your holy Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Goodbye.
All
Thank you,
right.
Leo.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys. See you next time.
All right.